Business and Professional Communication, Chapter 2, Being Aware of How You Communicate at Work. Analyze how being aware of the social skills of the self and of others helps to adapt effectively to the communication skills of others. Evaluate the different motivational approaches followed in organizations. Recognize the need to be aware of organizational culture for effective communication. Express the need to remain ethical in all forms of roles in an organization. There are different leadership approaches. The first was trait theory. The trait theory of leadership is rather limiting. It states that there are certain traits of leaders that are hardwired into the brain from birth. Some of these traits may be intelligence, confidence, extroversion, sociability, and enthusiasm. However, research within the past decade proves that even the trait of intelligence is malleable. Other qualities of a leader, such as honesty, forward-looking outlook, competency, and the ability to inspire, are all traits that can be learned. Even the traits first listed can be learned. The functional approach divides the work into three components: the task at hand, the team trying to accomplish the task, and the individual on the team. The intersection of all three is where a leader places his or her focus. The task of leadership asks the team to get work done, delegates duties, facilitates meetings, and ensures that the individual employees are trained properly. Leaders within the functional approach must also manage conflict among members and give proper rewards for a completed task. The styles approach divides leaders into three types. The authoritarian or autocratic leader seeks control over subordinates. Subordinates expect that control. This is the style used by the military most certainly. Autocratic leaders seek to influence through governing others and seeking control. This approach works best when employees are not experts in their job or perhaps are not highly motivated. They need direct orders. This approach also works well when quick commands and shifts are absolutely necessary. Democratic leaders issue orders after consulting with the team. This method leads to increased trust and greater cohesiveness, but is a slower process. Laissez-faire leaders have a more laid-back approach to influencing others. There is less direction, and the leader takes a hands-off approach. This approach works best when employees are experts at their job and motivated to achieve goals. The styles approach, or situational approach, understands that certain situations require certain styles of leadership. The leader who ascribes to this form of leadership must know all four styles and quickly analyze which style is needed at the time. It is a more interactive process, with the leader playing an active role. The leader will gather ideas and information from people and then adapt to the situation. This style works well in times of crisis or when routine work is being done. Finally, the transformational leadership approach. This style is more difficult for a leader to manage. However, it will enhance creativity and challenge the existing ways of thinking. This style is useful in companies needing dramatic change or innovation. Leaders are encouraged to think holistically and build a shared vision for the whole team. The culture of the team or organization may be challenged with a glimpse of what the future could hold. The leader gives new structure and helps employees see the new possibilities. Leaders must be aware of their own assumptions about the task, the team, and themselves. Some of the leadership assumptions may begin with the classical leadership approach. Three main approaches: classical, human relations, and human resources. The classical approach stems from the late 1800s and the Industrial Revolution. It bases management on the concept of rewards and punishments. The goal of management is to minimize wasted motion and improve efficiency. This style of management works well in low-skilled jobs. A leader should influence workers to produce goods or services in the most efficient way to keep things moving like clockwork. The leader is there to organize the work. This method does not work well with intellectual or creative work. The human relations model. It sees employees as valuable partners. Leaders seek to influence work output by managing the work climate. Work recognition for good work is important. Leaders pay attention to worker concerns and ask for input in adapting the work environment to optimize production. The human resources approach asks workers for participation, but also asks for control over the workplace. Leaders seek to empower workers to problem solve and make their own decisions. Workers are given the tools and support to solve issues on their own as they are viewed in the experts in their field. Organizational culture can consist of many things. Some of the main components are environment and atmosphere, compensation, which is the salary, standards and practices, what is the norm, people, who has been chosen to work there, leadership, is the team effective, and organization, is it effective and does it accomplish its goals? Culture can be broken down into 3 kinds of rules. There are surface rules, which are facts. They are explicitly written down or given verbally. Then there are the unspoken rules, the implicit rules. They are followed in the workplace where rules are relaxed and determined by the viewing of the examples set by others. Then there are the unconscious rules, rules that every employee is expected to know but yet does not seem to understand to be a real rule, but yet everyone follows. Explicit culture is spoken of directly and clearly. If the rule is violated, emotions are small and the rule is simply re-explained. Some examples might be how to clock in correctly, parking in the right parking lot, and details of the job as defined in the job description. Next are the implicit rules. Implicit culture is unspoken but known. The example that half of you will readily understand are the rules that you all know yet were never formally taught. How to use the men's restroom. All men will understand the rules of using a public men's restroom, yet there is no formal training. Ladies, if you ever want to understand lots of really inane rules, you should ask a man about public restroom rules. There are also rules about never leaving before the boss leaves. Breaking this rule can earn negative consequence, even if you were unfamiliar with the rule. When these types of rules are broken, emotions run high. Organizational culture includes multiple factors, such as the features, what you see, read, or hear, and other factors. Are the rules written as policies? What is posted? What was in the employee handbook? Then there are stories that exemplify the rules that were in place in the culture of the organization. Frequently, people use metaphors to explain these rules. Then there are ceremonies. What gets rewarded? What gets rewarded will also be repeated, and thus the ceremonies are important. Artifacts and decor. Is the space expected to be empty and sleek, or fun and personal? What do your peers do? It is best for the new employee to follow the line of their peers. There are 5 kinds of organizational power. We will discuss each separately. Reward power, coercive power, legitimate power, referent power, and expert power. The first is legitimate power. In this, a leader is elected, appointed, or ordained and makes a unilateral decision for a group. The power a person receives as a result of his or her position in the formal hierarchy of an organization is legitimate power. The next type is referent power. This power comes from being well-liked, not necessarily appointed. This is power that arrives from a person's desirable resources or personal traits. The third kind of power is expert power. Again, this may not be appointed power. This power comes from mastering the information at hand. This power is exemplified by someone who is knowledgeable about the issues or ideas. Reward power comes from a leader who has the ability to bestow awards valued by group members, such as a paycheck, and remove unpleasant conditions to thus increase production. Finally, there is coercive power. It is authoritative and the least likely style of power to be obeyed once the threat is gone. A coercive leader does have the ability to punish others. Sadly, many managers in lower positions use the threat of firing to motivate employees. It is a very demotivating method in the long term. Finally, we must talk about sexual harassment and hostile workplaces. Today's workplace can be dangerous if you don't know the rules. The first kind of sexual harassment we will discuss is quid pro quo sexual harassment, or this for that. It is the threatened use of rewards or punishment if a desired action is not taken by the employee. It is highly illegal. The second kind of sexual harassment in the workplace is a hostile working environment. It is also illegal, it is more common, and it is sometimes difficult to prove unless good notes are taken. It can consist of any of the following: unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature, such as telling dirty jokes at work, interference with a person's ability to work. It does create a hostile, intimidating, or offensive work environment. All of these must be avoided to protect the company from lawsuits. Chapter 2, Being Aware of How You Communicate at Work.